You have reheated yesterday's food and thought you were making a smart choice, using up the leftovers. No waste. But what if I told you that some of the foods you consider the healthiest in your routine, when reheated, trigger inside your body a chemical reaction that no supplement, no tea, no wellness protocol can easily reverse? I am talking about compounds that form during reheating and that have documented association with the development of cancerous cells. And the most disturbing part, these are exactly the foods that most people consider harmless or even beneficial to their health. What I am going to share here is not about dietary trends, it is about biochemistry. It is about what happens molecularly when you apply heat to certain organic compounds for the second time. Tell me in the comments, what city and state are you watching this video from? I want to understand where my audience is coming from, because eating habits vary greatly from one region to another, and that completely changes the level of exposure to what I am about to explain right now. Let's start with what is going to shock you the most: spinach, beets. Two foods that sit at the top of every superfoods list, two foods that doctors recommend, that health professionals celebrate, that appear in every wellness protocol you have ever read. And these are exactly the two that I need you to understand more carefully. Spinach and beets are naturally rich in nitrates. That is not a problem in itself. Nitrate, when properly metabolized by the body, has important functions in cardiovascular health and blood circulation. The body knows what to do with it when it arrives in a natural, fresh form. The problem begins when you reheat these vegetables. During reheating, especially when done repeatedly or at high temperatures, the nitrates present in these foods convert into nitrites. And when nitrites come into contact with amino acids in the acidic environment of the stomach, they form nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are compounds with established association with gastric and esophageal cancer. These are not suspicions, these are not theories. The International Agency for Research on Cancer, the IARC, classifies several nitrosamines as probable or definitive human carcinogens, and here is the detail that makes this even more relevant to your health. The sautéed spinach left over from lunch that goes into the refrigerator continues undergoing bacterial transformation even at low temperatures. The bacteria naturally present in the food continue converting nitrates into nitrites even inside the refrigerator. When you reheat it the next day, you are heating a food that has already gone through significant chemical transformation. I am not telling you to eliminate spinach and beets from your diet. I am saying that these foods were designed by nature to be consumed fresh. Reheating transforms their chemical nature in a way that your digestive system was not prepared to handle. Tell me in the comments, do you usually reheat vegetables the next day? I want to understand the habits of those who are here. The second food is the most consumed in Brazil, and probably the one that generates the most misunderstanding when it comes to reheating: rice. The issue with rice is not the reheating itself. It is what happens between the moment it is prepared and the moment you reheat it. Cooked rice, when left at room temperature for more than 2 hours, creates an ideal environment for the proliferation of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This bacterium is naturally present in the environment and in raw grains. It is not completely eliminated by cooking. Its spores survive the heat. As the rice cools at room temperature, those spores germinate and the bacterium begins to multiply rapidly. And here is the critical point: Bacillus cereus produces toxins that are heat-resistant. That means when you reheat the rice, you eliminate the bacteria, but the toxins they have already produced remain intact in the food. These toxins cause damage to the mucous lining of the digestive system. And chronic repeated exposure to bacterial toxins in the gastrointestinal tract creates inflammatory processes that compromise the integrity of the intestinal barrier, a barrier that is fundamental to your immunity and to your body's ability to eliminate potentially carcinogenic compounds. The solution is not to stop eating rice. It is simple. After preparation, refrigerate within 1 hour at most, and reheat only once. The habit of leaving the pot of rice covered on the stove all day and reheating portion by portion is one of the most silently destructive eating habits for digestive and immunological health that exists. The third one is going to surprise anyone who has been following the health and wellness space for some time. Eggs. The egg spent decades being demonized because of cholesterol. Then science revised that position, and the egg came back to be celebrated as one of the most nutritionally complete foods available. And it is, in fact, an extraordinary source of high-quality protein, choline, and B-complex vitamins. But there is one specific condition under which the egg becomes a problem: when it is reheated at high temperature. The egg yolk contains cholesterol. When that cholesterol is subjected to high temperatures for the second time, during reheating, it undergoes a process called cholesterol oxidation. The product of that oxidation is a group of compounds called oxysterols. Oxysterols have been extensively studied over the past 2 decades. Research associates their elevated presence in the body with inflammatory processes, damage to the vascular endothelium, and, in more recent studies, with mechanisms that favor abnormal cellular proliferation. Beyond that, egg protein, when reheated, undergoes additional denaturation that significantly reduces its bioavailability. You reheat thinking you are consuming a nutritious food, and in practice you are consuming a chemically altered and nutritionally depleted version of it. The egg was designed to be consumed fresh and prepared only once. That is the form in which the human body is prepared to metabolize it efficiently and safely. Tell me in the comments, do you reheat eggs frequently? What city are you responding from? The fourth is the most dangerous of all, and it is the one that happens most invisibly because it is not the food you are reheating, it is the medium through which you reheat it. Oil. When a vegetable oil is heated for the first time at high temperature, significant chemical transformations already occur. When that same oil is heated a second, third, or fourth time, which happens in repeated frying, in pans that are never completely cleaned, in oils that are never fully replaced, the chemical degradation becomes severe. Repeated reheating of vegetable oils generates aldehydes, especially 4-hydroxynonenal, known as HNE, and acrolein. These compounds have documented toxicity and association with carcinogenic processes in multiple organs. HNE specifically is capable of binding to cellular DNA and interfering with genetic repair mechanisms. When these repair mechanisms fail cumulatively, the body loses the ability to correct spontaneous cellular mutations, which are the starting point of oncological conditions. And the most alarming part, you do not need to fry food to be affected by this. Any reheating process that uses previously used oil, even in small amounts, already generates these compounds. The pan where you add a drizzle of oil to reheat yesterday's chicken. The pot with residual oil from the previous preparation. Seed oils, soybean, corn, sunflower, are the most thermally unstable and generate the greatest amount of toxic compounds when reheated. Extra virgin olive oil and coconut oil are considerably more stable, but should still not be repeatedly reused at high temperatures. The fifth one. And this closes the cycle in a way that will make everything I said before make even more sense. Reheated processed meats, hot dogs, sausage, ham, bologna, industrialized nuggets, any protein that went through industrial processing before reaching your plate. Processed meats already arrive loaded with nitrites and nitrates, intentionally added by the industry as preservatives and to maintain the pinkish color that consumers associate with freshness. Already during the first preparation, heat converts part of those nitrites into nitrosamines, the same compounds I mentioned in the spinach block. But when you reheat a processed meat, you apply a second heat cycle to a food that is already chemically compromised. The concentration of nitrosamines in the reheated product is significantly higher than in the product prepared for the first time. And there is more. Reheating processed meats also intensifies the formation of heterocyclic amines, especially when done in a skillet, oven, or microwave at high power. These compounds, as I have explained in another video, have the ability to bind to the DNA of prostate, intestinal, and gastric cells and induce mutations. The man who eats the leftover hot dog from yesterday, the reheated sausage from the weekend barbecue, the nuggets warmed up in the microwave for the kids, that man is exposing his body to a combination of oxidized nitrites, heterocyclic amines, and inflammatory compounds that no supplementation protocol can neutralize efficiently. Tell me in the comments, Which of these 5 foods do you reheat most often in your daily routine? I want to know what city you are responding from. I did not bring this information to create fear around food. I brought it because I believe conscious health decisions are only possible when the information is real, clear, and free from commercial interests. None of these foods is an absolute enemy when consumed fresh and prepared correctly. The problem is in the habit, in chronic reheating, in reused oil, in vegetables that sit in the refrigerator for days and are repeatedly warmed up. Health is not built in a single grand gesture. It is built or destroyed in small daily habits that seem insignificant until the body presents the bill. I am over 90 years old. Every choice I made throughout my life was informed, it was intentional, and the result is that today I have the vitality, mental clarity, and well-being that most 50-year-old men do not have. This is not genetics. It is information applied with consistency over time. Now go to the comments and tell me, which of these foods surprised you the most, and what city and state are you watching from? That information helps me create content increasingly tailored to the reality of those who are here. If this video made sense to you, share it with someone you care about, with someone you want to see well 20 years from now. The information that protects health rarely arrives through official channels. It arrives in conversations like this one,